and we are absolutely thrilled to bring in Craig Forth, the Colombian native, national champion. How you doing, man?
Not too bad. Good morning.
This is great to have you in here today. As I mentioned to you, through text, we didn't need a reason to bring you in here. Fans in this area, they love their high school basketball more than any other sport. High school basketball is the most popular, and we've had so many great players come through this area and go on to play at a high level, and you're one of them. How does it feel to be remembered in that kind of context?
Well, I would say that it's very interesting for me. Obviously, we're going back 10 years now since I graduated. At this point, I've lived through the last 10 years, and most of the time I'm looking just to be a regular guy, regular Craig, and go about my career and do what I've been wanting to do and loved for as long as I can remember in education. But as far as a sports figure around here, it's very hard for me to hide. Being 7 feet tall, it's not like I can go incognito anywhere. So, not like I can throw a hoodie on and walk around a game or a mall and not be noticed. So, it's great. It's fun. Obviously there's certain times of the year when you're a lot more noticeable than others. My March Madness time, everybody wants to talk to you. Everybody wants to hear what your thought process is. Is Syracuse going to go all the way this year or whatever? But, it's been really enjoyable. The Capital District, Capital Region is a fantastic place for basketball, and it's great to be a part of it.
That national championship, does it feel like just yesterday in your own mind's eye, or does it feel like a lifetime ago?
Well, I've been married for 10 years. I've got 3 kids, so it feels like a lifetime ago. In fact, probably a totally different life than what I'm living right now, and I love my life right now. But thinking back, I was just actually on Syracuse campus a couple nights ago. And it's how much it's changed since I was there 10 years ago. But going back in time and thinking, looking at pictures, of myself way back when, I'm probably 30 pounds heavier and a whole lot more mature, and from a look standpoint from that perspective. But like I said, it's a memory I'll never forget. It's a thing that'll last a lifetime, and something I'll get to tell my kids about. So extremely proud of it.
Craig, when's the last time you were at a Syracuse basketball game?
Oh, it was last year at some point.
Okay.
I go once or twice a year, depending on the events that they have going on. I like to get back there at this point in my life. I like to bring my kids back, show them what's going on. Obviously, one of my most proud pieces is being able to walk through that Carmelo Anthony Center and see my name on the wall for the academic All-American teams that I was on twice, and the video stream that they have playing of the national championship, and all the different fun memories that are a part of that.
If you look back at that team photo, you said you go back and you see the old photos. If you go back and look at that team photo, who just sticks out like a sore thumb? Like, man, that guy made a bad haircut choice, or that guy would just, he looks like the awkward 20-year-old.
That would be me, quite frankly. No, I look at it, I think about it from a different perspective. I look at like Queth Duaney, who for me was the quintessential leader of that team, and he is now living his life as the quintessential leader, doing some great things over in Africa. And just one of the guys that I look to as one of those great sources in my life of inspiration. Queth is one of those guys who I've reached out to when I've had tough times in my life. I've actually spoken to him, across the sea here a few times. Talked to him on Facebook, very frequently. Great guy. There's other guys out there too, but obviously look back on fond memories with everybody that's within that team photo.
Cool.
Was he your best friend from those teams? Because he was a senior when you were a sophomore, right? He was a junior when you were a freshman.
Correct.
Was he your best friend from those teams, or who was your best relationship?
I would say it depended on the year, and it depended on what was going on. Jeremy McNeil and I were great friends. Obviously, he backed me up most of the time because with starting everything, and then he and I would hang out most of the time. I had some good roommates. I roomed with Hakeem Warwick, Mark Konechny, if you remember that name, from my freshman year. And there were some great people. Todd Burek he was a walk-on. Yeah. He's doing some great things down in New York City now. So there's like I said, a lot of people on that team and on those 4 years of teams that were very close to my heart.
Is there an image from the 2003 title game, Craig, that sticks out? You had the first bucket of that game, which a lot of people probably don't remember. And Zach just asked me, was it a dunk? Was it a dunk?
No, it was a layup. Carmelo passed me the ball from the top of the key, put the layup in. As far as a memory,
like the long-lasting image, of course, is that ridiculous arm that Warwick was able to get out to block the shot. But is there something else that, from a player's perspective, you remember that fans wouldn't?
I would say remembering the aftermath of the game. Obviously, the game is replayable all the time. But I remember walking over to my parents right after the game and taking my hat off and putting it onto my mom. Hugging my dad and hugging my mom and just loving that moment because they were able to see it and able to be there.
That's cool.
Once in a lifetime type of thing.
When you went back to campus, you guys were treated like rock stars.
Yeah, we were
What was that
we were
experience
kings
like?
for about 3 months. It was pretty awesome. They did a big parade, going down the road in the freezing cold at that point. Syracuse is always freezing cold for some reason, even in June. But then we had a big get together at the Dome, in which it was kind of a reverse of a pep rally. It was congratulations. And I remember having to hold the trophy, and it was this gigantic ball that was bigger than a basketball, and it was all made out of solid crystal. And I remember thinking, well, I can't hold on to a basketball very well. I can't believe I'm having to hold on to this thing. So that was a fun moment for me too.
What point from the time that Carmelo Anthony stepped on campus, was there a moment for you that it clicked that, wow, this kid is special? I mean, I'm sure you heard about him. He was at Oak Hill. He was highly regarded, a top recruit. He chose to come to Syracuse. But was there a moment on the floor where you're like, holy crap, he's the real deal?
Well, it was one of those behind-the-scenes moments. We actually, between him and Carmelo, or him and Hakeem, we were at Archibald Gymnasium, and we were playing over the summer, and they were going back and forth. And it was one of those situations where it was like that old commercial where the two basketball players have a 5-on-5 to start, and then it ended up being 1-on-1, and everybody just sat down and watched. So Carmelo and Hakeem were going crazy after each other, and it's just amazing how the two of them were able to continue that and play and have that such high intensity of that competition back and forth with each other. But as far as him, being the ultimate star on that team, I would say that he really never acted that way. He never really, put himself out there in that fashion. And just seeing where he's gone at this point, it's a testament to him that he was able to keep himself kind of humble during those, 10 months that he was on Syracuse campus.
So he was just one of the guys during that
Absolutely.
time.
I mean, I remember the night of the championship game, right before the game, the 12 of us were sitting there snapping towels in the locker room and messing around with each other's phones and just being silly little kids, and that was probably the best part of that team.
What was it like playing for Jim Boeheim?
Honestly, it was one of those situations where he expected the best of you every minute of every day. You were never really given any time to not do well. And that was one of those things, and it really applied to everybody. If you weren't cutting the mustard, you weren't on the court. And when you look back at it, obviously he put together some great teams. And I think the freedom that he gave us to be who we were, I mentioned before the break where we were talking about snapping towels in the locker room and having a good time before the game. He could have easily walked into that locker room, squashed that, and said, forget it. But he let every team that I was on be the team that they were. So
that's always the challenge of a coach, right? Is to, especially in college, I think, to try to find what is this team's personality, because it changes every year with new guys coming in and guys leaving, and how a guy can stay in the game for as long as Jim Boeheim has and be as adaptive as he is, right? To me, that's always the miracle, is like watching this guy, even into his 60s, still relate to guys in their 18, 19, 20, whatever, and let them be who they are. I don't know, like that's tough.
No, he's definitely
going to be a teacher in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You're a mentor, you're a teacher, you're a leader, you're doing all the different things that it takes to be all those things. And when you look at the cast and crew that he had coming in, you had guys that were tough as nails. You had guys that were more academic like myself and more cerebral from thought process on the court. You had guys who were just straight shooters who had no conscience about pulling up the ball, and being able to mold all those kids together to have how many 20-win seasons does he have? Right,
unbelievable.
It's an amazing feat.
One of the teammates that you referenced before we went to break, Hakeem Warwick. Hakeem Warwick's one of my favorite all-time college players, if not my favorite. The most unbelievable athlete. He was dunking on people from the parking lot. I remember he had a dunk against Notre Dame I
remember that.
Do you remember that?
Oh my God.
He was wearing guys on him on his way to the basket.
Well, we had posters of him in our locker room where there were just some not very flattering pictures of him jumping over other people. Not for him, flattering for the people he was jumping over.
Do you remember he had that dunk against Texas? He literally...
That would be the one that I'm talking about. You don't need to say anymore. No, that was a crazy dunk. I remember a dunk that he had from against Miami where he jumped from like 4 feet outside the box and just crushed it. He was one of those guys who would probably weigh 180 pounds and jumped about 46 inches off the ground, and he had a 7'4" wingspan. I'm like, I wish I had half of that talent. Like, just that God-given ability. So it was fun to watch.
Speaking of dunking, when was the last time you dunked? And then secondly, was there a guy in practice who you got, maybe even if he was just a little off bounds, but you got one on him and you held that for 4 years?
I was saying I probably still hold on to it. It was the last time I dunked, gosh, well, we do a charity game every year, but that's a different kind of dunking than doing it on the big screen.
Well,
whatever. So, I get there every once in a while for the kids. They want to see me do what I do.
I love it.
But as far as a major dunk on somebody was probably, I'm not going to call him out too badly, hopefully here, but Eton Thomas.
Yeah.
He came back over one of the summer breaks and we played a pickup game and I came down the lane and he jumped. And this man is probably 3 times.
He's a bull.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Huge guy. And I went up over him one hand and just tomahawked. I remember walking back to the car wondering if he was going to be waiting for me.
That is a feeling I will never know. Dunking on someone.
I have to double back to Hakeem Warwick along this same subject. Did he ever catch you in practice?
Oh, all the time. He caught everybody. If you even went anywhere near trying to block him, I'm not going to say, I was probably the guy who had loose leaf paper jumping ability. I could barely get off the ground. So he's going up there and he's towering over me. He'd catch an alley-oop from, half court from Jerry going over the top, and I go up and try to block him. He's like, okay, hi. And he's waving at me from his helicopter view over the top and just crushing me. So it was fun to watch. Like I said, it's fun to watch these guys with talent. And, you wish you had half that, ability, but you play to your strengths and you do what you can do at the time. But like I said, very, very fun to watch. My favorite thing with Hakeem was watching him kind of do his little pirouettes throughout the lane. And he would start on the 3-point line and he would take 4 dribbles, but he'd take like 50 steps and somehow get to the basket around all these big guys and just go up and like effortlessly dunk it.
Yeah.
It was fantastic to watch.
Crazy.
As you look back, one of the games that, well, I should say, as I look back, one of the games that really sticks out was the Final Four against Texas.
Sure.
And you went up against another Section 2 legend in James Thomas, who graduated Texas as all-time leading rebounder. What was that like for you to look across and see another guy that you probably looked across at here in the Capital Region?
Well, he was a little bit older than me, obviously. I remember battles back to, playing with him here. I remember playing with him on the City Rocks. We had a long-standing relationship. Great kid, great guy, great family man at this point. He's doing some great things overseas, but I look back at it now. You don't think about it at the time. It's just a guy you played with, and it's a fun experience. And you're not thinking at that point. You're just, praying and hoping that you get to the national championship game. But looking back at it now, it's a testament to Section 2 to have that kind of talent within our area, and to have them, the coaching that allowed us to get to the point that we got, and then to have us, succeed at such a high level was absolutely fantastic.
Best guy you played against in high school here would be who?
There's a long line there. I think back to the Colony players, J.J. Harvey and Ryan Larrabee. I think back to, Eric Taylor, one of probably my stiffest competition when it came to big guys.
And he played at Shaker and went to Cornell. He was the first ever 3-time captain at Cornell. He was a terrific player.
Right, fantastic, and a fantastic kid too. One of those guys that you didn't mind playing against, because you weren't bodying up back and forth and trying to hurt each other. Obviously, there's a lot of ego that goes into playing the game of basketball. Yeah. And when you can separate that and just realize that you're good players, that's a good thing. Other players, I remember going back to all guys that I played with on my Albany City Rocks team, in Jason McCreath and James Thomas, as you mentioned, Willie Dean way back when, Marcus and Steve Snipes from Schenectady, Rayshawn Freeman, there's a long list of names, and they all are individually talented. Lucius Jordan was another one who was a fantastic kid and a fantastic player. And I know I'm forgetting a couple. I think even back to my own teams with Darko Sedlar, who came through. I don't know if you remember him.
Yeah. Where did he go play at Lemoyne?
He played at Lemoyne for 4 years. He's actually down in Virginia. He's an academic administrator down there, so he's doing some good things for himself. But, just the pure shooting ability that he had. You put all that together in an all-star team on the City Rocks, and then you go out and you play against each other all year long in the thing. It makes for some exciting games. I remember going into games where it was at the old Columbia High School gym with the black ceiling and all that, and it was one of those things where everybody just packed the house to see not only myself, but the competition that was coming in, because every night there was 2 or 3 players. And Chuck Abba from Bethlehem was another one who was, an all-star player and fantastic kid. And, just being able to pack the house and have that much fan support was fantastic.
Do you still have those socks you used to wear up to your knees? The blue and white stripes?
I'm trying to forget those days. And you keep bringing them up on air. I'm not sure what's going on here. No, that is my personality. I'm one of those guys. Listen, I'm at a middle school dance last night doing the whip and nay-nay, all right? I enjoy life. I enjoy being goofy, being silly, and having fun. So, yes, I still, if I go out and I play, we do like I said, we do a charity game between Mechanicville and Stillwater teachers every year, and I'll dress kind of funny. Last year I had red socks pulled up halfway up my ankles and wristbands and headbands, and just to be silly. It's not my style of basketball, but I'm just trying to get the kids involved and get people to enjoy what they're doing. So.
I know it isn't the double A's, but that's a huge rivalry in the Capital Region, is Mechanicville Stillwater that you're now part of. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. Every game, whether it's soccer, we could play a game of chess and it would be highly contentious, believe me. And it's fantastic. It's nice to see 2 towns that love their sports rivalries. And, but when you're off the field and you're off the court and you're sitting there and, they're families. That's what it comes down to. And it's nice to have that camaraderie. We get them one year, they get us another year, different things. And, it's a healthy respect for each other, and obviously there's a lot of love that goes into that too.
His name is Craig Forth. He played at Columbia, played AAU for the City Rocks, went on to play at Syracuse, won a national championship.
Cuse opens tonight?
Yeah. Cuse opens tonight. This area remembers you so fondly, and I think it's important that we bring guys like you back in here to sort of just check in with the Capital Region, and cannot thank you enough for taking the time out.
Hey, my pleasure. It's great to be here, and it's great to talk about all this stuff, so thanks for having me.